I'm Claire and welcome to my channel. So today's video is all about summer fragrances. I am going to pick out my top 10 summer fragrances for my own collection and just discuss them in this video. I have some nice citruses, some aromatic fragrances, and I also have some sunny florals and also some garden fresh florals and some fresher feeling fragrances overall. So if you haven't seen me before, I'm Claire and I talk all about fragrance. I make videos all about perfume science, perfume history, perfume psychology. I'm doing a series where I'm profiling certain perfumers at the moment, and also I do some fun perfume tags. So if that kind of thing interests you and you haven't already done so, then please do consider subscribing and please also press the like button if you do enjoy this kind of content. So let's look at my top 10 summer fragrances. So the first fragrance is the fragrance of my collection that if somebody said to me, go and grab the fragrance that makes you think of being on a tropical island, that I would grab first. So this one is Memo Marfa. So this fragrance is just a stunner because it's a solar floral fragrance, but it's got this really lovely freshness to it. And that comes from the agave note here. So it has this kind of green coolness alongside these really creamy feeling sunshiny florals, sunshiny tropical florals. So this is a tuberose fragrance really overall, but it also has some greenness for some orange blossom and then some really nice creamy feeling ylang ylang and also some vanilla and sandalwood. So this in the dry down has something that comes off as slightly coconutty to me, even though coconut isn't listed. And I feel like it's the florals, perhaps along with the sandalwood and the vanilla, that are really giving that impression of something coconutty, maybe even with the agave as well. If you haven't smelled this fragrance, I think if you've tried something like Carnal Flower, that's probably the closest thing that I can think of to this one. It's got that kind of fresh feel, but then also the florals. I think if you like Carnal Flower, you'll probably like this fragrance as well. So that's Memo Marfa. So the second fragrance is something completely different in style from the first one. This one is Le Jardin de Monsieur by Hermès. So this is a green, sappy, watery, almost slightly floral fragrance. It really does encapsulate the idea of this line, which is a garden scene painted by watercolours captured in a fragrance. I really do get the wateriness in this fragrance most of all. I think if you want something refreshing to just spritz on a really hot day, this is a great fragrance to choose. And considering the note structure for this, I still get a decent amount of lasting power out of it. So this has some mint here as well, which also gives it a nice refreshing touch, but the mint is very gentle. It's not a peppermint or a spearmint. This is more of like a gentle water mint. Everything about this fragrance is indistinct and watery feeling. Even the florals feel very watery and indistinct. I just think this one's perfect for a really hot summer's day. So that's Le Jardin de Monsieur by Hermès. So the next fragrance is one from Mabelle Rama, and I love Mabel's fragrances and I'm so pleased to see that she's doing so well now. I hear her mentioned by YouTubers in the US. I see her on Instagram being mentioned by people in various different countries. And she's really well known as a perfumer now, and she's on her third fragrance. I've got all three of her fragrances and I particularly love number 2. And number 2 is Forbidden Blue. So this fragrance is a really juicy feeling, fruity floral fragrance. And it's got some really nice ripe nectary feeling peach and pear, and then some really nice creamy tropical florals. So frangipani most distinctively. But then also a beautifully dark, musky dry down. It's very seductive feeling and just quite a strong fragrance as well. You don't need many sprays of this. Very long lasting. It's my scent of the day today. Really a beautiful fragrance. I can't recommend it enough. It's probably the best fruity floral fragrance I've smelled in the last couple of years. I really do hold it up that highly. It's a gorgeous fragrance. So that's Forbidden Bloom by Mabelle Rama. So the next fragrance is one that I was recommended by a subscriber. So hi Christina, I've bought your fragrance that you recommended to me. So this one is Guerlain's Aqua Allegoria range, and it's the Forte version. So the Forte range I think is supposed to be slightly stronger. And this one is called Oud Yuzu. So I had to try this as soon as Christina told me about it, because Oud and Yuzu sounded such an unusual combination. And I thought, Aqua Allegorias using Oud? Really? I didn't even know they did such a thing. So this one, I think it really makes me think more of neroli than it does of yuzu. I mean, I'm not sure I'd know what yuzu smells like. I'm assuming it's a citrus because it smells citrusy. But this fragrance is really more of a citrusy neroli fragrance to me in the opening. It really does have that kind of Guerlain neroli as well. I don't normally like neroli, but I've discovered that I do like neroli when Guerlain do it, generally. I think this one just has a really nice, refreshing, bright citrus feel to it in the opening, but it's not sweet. It's quite green feeling almost as well. And then as this dries down, it gets woodier. It even gets a little bit smoky feeling, and I guess that's the oud here. I wouldn't be scared by the oud because it's really not that distinct. It's Guerlain, it's going to be gentle. But here, it almost makes me think of oud cole. If you've tried that fragrance from Guerlain, it's got that kind of almost slightly smoked feel about it that you get in oud cole. And I really like that feel. I found it really distinctive in oud cole. Oud cole was a bit too much for me, but this one just really works. I still find this incredibly refreshing. I think it's the woodiness and the citrus feel to this that makes it so refreshing. And it's really not a heavy feeling fragrance. I really feel like this one works in the summertime, as mad as it sounds. So that's Oud Yuzu by Aqua Allegoria range from Guerlain. So this next fragrance is the fragrance that I would choose if I were going to a wedding or a special event during the daytime in the summer, something that I just would feel pretty in. So this one is Dior's Rose N Roses, and this could be a spring fragrance as well. It really does have that kind of freshness to it, but I love the kind of dewy, watery feel of this fragrance and the sweetness of it as well. I think this fragrance is something that I just stopped myself from even trying for a few years after it came out because I just felt like it was going to be boring. But I think over time, I've learnt to appreciate fragrances that are maybe simpler, that are just done really well. And I feel like this is one of those simple but just really well done fragrances. I really feel like this could be part of the Privé line. And I'm really very glad it's not because it's much more affordable. But this one to me is just stunning. So this is a nice pink feeling rose and musk fragrance. It's not a very dense musk at all. It's just a kind of, it's just got a slight texture to it. I would say it's kind of slightly powdery almost, but not quite powdery. Also, there's a slight greenness here, which I think adds a little bit of freshness and a slight pepperiness as well from the geranium. But really overall, it's rose. I just really love this one, and I honestly didn't expect to love it as much as I do. But yeah, this one is stunning. So this was Miss Dior Rose N Roses by Dior. So the next fragrance, we're back to Aqua Allegoria range from Guerlain again. I've bought another one, and this one is Orange Soleia. So this is really the idea of a green orange captured in a fragrance. It sounds weird, but the orange does smell slightly green or even slightly lemony to me, and I think that's probably the petitgrain in this fragrance. So it opens with this juicy feeling orange that is slightly lemony. But the juicy feeling orange is more like you're peeling the orange. It's slightly juicy, but it's not super sweet. It's more of a very natural smelling orange. And I think that's really hard to do in fragrance. I smell a lot of orange in fragrances, and often I don't like citrus fragrances, but I really like these ones from Guerlain. I think they're really realistic. And the thing I love about this is it doesn't have that kind of fougere edge to it. This still remains quite a fresh feeling fragrance. And I think that's the mint here. It's nice and subtle, and it just really adds to and brings out the green feeling from the orange and also from the petitgrain. I just really love this one, and I think it's really distinctive and different from the rest of my collection. And I think citrus is something that I've avoided for just so long because it's done so badly in certain fragrances, and I'm so pleased to have found something where I think it's done well. So that's Orange Soleia by Guerlain. So the next fragrance is one from a small UK brand, and the brand owner is called Karen Timson, and this one is Moon Palace. So Moon Palace is probably the fragrance that I would pick out if somebody said, find me your most photorealistic tropical fragrance. It's a tropical floral fragrance, but it's definitely got a green aspect to it as well. There's palm leaves in this fragrance as well, which are very distinctive. And this fragrance actually makes me think sometimes of banana skins, green banana skins, but also that feeling of when you go into a heated greenhouse, when the florals are just in full bloom, and you sort of almost get that kind of slightly banana-y ylang-ylang, some tuberose, and also that sort of slightly indolic smell that you get from tropical florals. It's just very distinctive, and it's a very strong fragrance. This is a very present fragrance. This also has a very intoxicating resinous and also dark musky dry down, which I just think is stunning. I think this one's very distinctive because of how natural it smells. It's wild and untamed, this fragrance, but definitely not for people who like sweet fragrances. So that's Moon Palace by Karen Timson. So the next fragrance is probably in my top 10 for life. I love it so much. And really from the tropical summer to the British summer or even the English summer, I feel like this fragrance perfectly encapsulates the idea of an English summer. So this one is Miller Harris's Found at Dusk. So this fragrance really nicely mimics the idea of a sky that's about to rain. It's got that kind of humid air about it. But also this fragrance takes me to a childhood memory of playing hide and seek with a couple of friends and hiding behind some blackcurrant bushes whilst this other friend was looking for me. And it takes me back to being just outside my dad's greenhouse. There were some tomato plants growing in the greenhouse. There are mint plants still around there, and also we had some blackcurrant bushes. And just all of those smells mixed together are in this fragrance. And as soon as I smelt this fragrance for the first time, I was instantly transported back to that childhood memory. And that's why I love this one quite so much. It's a special fragrance for me. Really, as this dries down, it goes into a slight piney woodiness, but also with a really nice muskiness as well. But really it's that fruity greenness that I absolutely love about this fragrance. So that's Miller Harris's Found at Dusk. So the next fragrance is Unspoken Gesture, and it's by Jorum Studio. So I'm picking this one because it's got a powdery mimosa. And I always feel like powdery mimosa is very, very summery. It's just got this kind of dense pollen-y feel to it. And this one is really broken up by some cool feeling cardamom, which I think would work really well in the summertime because it just gives it a bit of a refreshing edge. This fragrance overall is quite a dense one and it's quite huggy and enveloping. And I think the cardamom just helps to take it back from the brink of maybe something that could be too much in the summertime. This fragrance really has some delicious aspects to it. So it's a little bit milky, it's got a nuttiness to it, it's got some ambrette giving it a lovely muskiness. And there's also something that makes me think a little bit of basmati rice. It makes me think of uncooked, really fragrant feeling basmati rice that I've just kind of plunged my hand into in a bag. It's got that kind of coolness to it. I love this one. I smell something different in it every time, and I just think this one, whilst it could be suitable for the spring or the autumn, I think it would equally work in the summertime. So that's Unspoken Gesture by Jorum Studio. So my final selection is sadly discontinued, but this is really one of my favourite summer fragrances. It has to go in my top 10 summer. So this one is Balenciaga's Florabotanica. This fragrance is just stunning. It just has this lovely, fresh rosewater feeling rose. It's fresh, it's pink, and it's sparkly almost. This has aldehydes in it, I'm sure, even though I don't think it's listed. There's something a little bit soapy about this fragrance, but there's also just a lovely spice to it. There's mintiness for a bit of freshness, and there's also some herbal aspects and a lovely woody dry down. I love this one. I just find it so refreshing in the really hot weather. It lasts the whole day as well. It's just such a great fragrance, and I just think that it's weird, but it really just works. So that's Balenciaga's Florabotanica. So that's the final fragrance in this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, then please press the like button, and please also consider subscribing if you haven't done already. And please let me know which is your favourite summer fragrance, which is the one you'll be reaching for most in 2025. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.